When I took out my black card and was about to sponsor Brittany's tuition, the young girl suddenly became cold and reserved, and the barrage of comments rolled wildly in front of my eyes. The heroine was reborn and returned to the starting point of everything. In this life, she can finally make up for the regrets of her previous life with her childhood sweetheart. In the previous life, if the male supporting role hadn't relied on his few bucks to stand between the male and female protagonists, how could the male and female protagonists miss each other's lives? I looked up and met Brittany's suddenly cold eyes. Her eyes would only turn red for no reason when she looked at her childhood sweetheart. Oh, the heroine is reborn. Reborn at the age of 18, penniless and clean-handed. The story is about to begin. If you like it, remember to like and follow. Being quite close to Brittany, I could clearly feel the change in her temperament. That is the nobility that is nurtured by money for a long time, and it is impossible for it to appear on a green and immature young girl. She glanced at the black card in my hand with disgust and said indifferently, "I said that I will find a way to pay for my own tuition. There is no need for you to use money to insult my dignity." After saying that, she walked right around me and threw herself into Gavin's arms, who was full of hostility towards me. Her nails dug deep into his arms with great force, as if she was holding a lost treasure. "Gavin, after all this, I realized that you are the person I love most in my life." There was a lot of clicking sounds all around, and the barrage of comments in front of me was rolling more and more densely. Ah! The heroine is so brave. She confessed her love to her childhood sweetheart the moment she was reborn. That's right, no dragging of feet at all. The vicious male supporting role is now dumbfounded. In the previous life, the heroine reluctantly accepted your black card for tuition and agreed to be with you. After rebirth, no matter how much money you have, it is useless. I rubbed my eyes, looked at the scrolling subtitles that appeared out of nowhere, and pieced together a fact from them. I was the male supporting role in their conversations, the vicious young master who took money and forced the heroine to be with me. The Brittany in front of me was reborn. In my previous life, I fell in love with her at first sight when I had just entered college. When I learned that she had no money to pay for tuition, I took out my black card to cover all her expenses for 4 years of college and proposed that we be together. Brittany hesitated for a long time, and finally, holding the black card, she agreed humiliatingly, and buried her childhood crush for many years deep in her heart. She believed that I was the one who broke up her relationship with Gavin, and she despised my arrogant temper because I would not condescend to please others. She was inferior and sensitive. She claims that she is inferior to others in love and has no dignity at all, but she is used to living the life of a rich person and doesn't want to lose me, her cash cow. In the second year after graduation, when the news of Gavin's marriage came, the love that had been suppressed for many years burst out. Brittany, wearing her wedding dress, drove anxiously to her childhood sweetheart's wedding, intending to stage a crazy wedding robbery, but she got distracted on the way and collided with a truck, dying on the spot. After her rebirth, the first thing she did was to express the unspoken love in her previous life to her childhood sweetheart in order to heal her regrets from her previous life. I frowned. What the barrage said is consistent with my arrogant personality. It's just as they said. Brittany took so much money from me, and after graduation I introduced her to people, helped her start a company, and brought her into high society. What's wrong with her being a little servile to a young master like me? What's wrong with listening to me, the eldest young master? Isn't this what should be done? Does she still want me to make her a queen, obey her in everything, and live my life according to her wishes? I sneered and decisively threw the black card to a girl passing by. "Brittany, who said I'm going to sponsor your tuition? The person I want to sponsor is obviously her. Beautiful lady, would you like to be my girlfriend? What's going on? Did I miss it before? How did I give the black card to someone else? Girl, it's useless even if you have a black card. The male supporting role only likes the female lead and will never look at anyone else in his life. It's just a retreat to advance, haha. The heroine won't fall for this trick." Brittany stiffened. She had just been reborn, and there was a bit more disbelief and confusion in her almond-shaped eyes. She didn't seem to realize that the plot of this life was slightly different from her previous life. But her beloved was right in front of her, and the fear of death and the joy of rebirth were still assaulting her brain, so she didn't think much about it. I warmly invited this beautiful lady to have dinner with me. The school has just started and I am not very familiar with the faces around me. As for Brittany, I heard some classmates whispering that she still hasn't raised enough money for tuition, so I kindly took out my black card and wanted to ask if I could be her boyfriend or girlfriend. After all, her delicate and innocent face suits my aesthetic taste and makes me dizzy. Maybe, I really loved Brittany in my previous life. But in this life, love has been strangled in the bud before it even began. I have plenty of money, I am the only son of the richest family, David, and I am a young master who has never suffered any injustice. Why should I hang myself on a crooked tree? It doesn't matter who you talk to about love. The beautiful lady in front of me holding the black card has a face that suits my aesthetic taste. I chose the most upscale restaurant near the school, frowned, looked through the menu, and then threw it to the waiter, "Bring all your signature dishes here." The waiter trotted away happily. The hotel door was pushed open, attracting everyone's attention. I looked back and saw the reborn heroine, arm in arm with her beloved childhood sweetheart. In her previous life, Brittany was really well nourished by money. There was nothing wrong with her dining etiquette or posture. She behaved like a lady from a wealthy family. She glanced at me from time to time, with contempt and irritation in her eyes that she couldn't suppress, as if she believed that I appeared here just to chat her up. "There's no way you can get rid of me." She even believed that I was having dinner with other girls to make her jealous. Brittany straightened her back and elegantly ordered 7 or 8 signature dishes from the menu, then said affectionately, "Gavin, the food here is average, so just make do with it for now. When I have time, I will definitely take you to try the top-quality air-shipped fresh produce. Then I'll take you to a luxury store to buy you some of the latest clothes of the season." Gavin was hit in the face by a falling pie, and he was so lucky that he almost fainted. He glanced at me triumphantly and raised his voice, "Brittany, today is the first day of our relationship. I have a gift for you that I have been preparing for a long time." There was a look of boasting on his face. The comments said that Brittany and Gavin were childhood sweethearts, and they were just waiting to get into college together so that they could naturally confess their love. When I took out my black card, Gavin was so angry that his teeth were almost broken, and the look in his eyes when he looked at me was just like a mistress who had stolen someone's love. But in the previous life, when Brittany agreed to be my girlfriend, she didn't mention Gavin's existence, right? Gavin mysteriously took out a simple box. Brittany's face lit up with excitement. The barrage was also screaming wildly. "Oh my God, the first meeting between the male and female protagonists after their rebirth is so sweet, and the progress is too fast. It's so fast that I can't keep up with their development speed. Guess what gift is in this box?" I remember that in the previous life, David gave the heroine a necklace worth more than $1 million. Although the male protagonist is not as rich as the male supporting character, the gift must have been thoughtful. The box was held in the palm of my hand and felt weightless. Brittany opened it expectantly, revealing a raffia necklace inside. Gavin said excitedly, "Brittany, I made this specially during the summer vacation. I was waiting for us to get into the same university, so I could confess my love to you. Each strip of raffia represents a sentence of 'I love you.' How about it, do you like it?" The barrage of comments that was bustling just now suddenly became quiet. If I didn't know Brittany was reborn, I would probably think she would like this gift. Perhaps, this pile of raffia necklaces was a rare gift to the 18-year-old Brittany, tender and beautiful. But beneath her youthful appearance, she hides a 24-year-old reborn soul. This 24-year-old man is used to eating delicacies from land and sea, seeing diamonds and jade, and having luxury goods in abundance, which is already commonplace for him. Even a few hours ago, when Brittany died in a car accident, she was driving the Maybach in my garage. The touch of a soft leather steering wheel and a rough wooden box in the palm of your hand are worlds apart. I smiled and took out a diamond necklace from my bag. This is a new style of the season that I bought casually when I passed by a luxury store today. Since Linda has become my girlfriend, I can't favor one over the other. I pushed the exquisite necklace box in front of her. "Girlfriend, today is also our first day together. This is my gift to you. Take a look. Do you like it?" No, wasn't this necklace given to the heroine in the previous life? How could I give it to someone else? The male supporting role must be trying to get the female lead's attention by retreating. Believe me, he won't be able to hold on for long. Yes, the male supporting role is now completely out of balance. The necklace sparkles. Before Linda recovered from the shock of the black card, she got a second shock. Her hand was shaking as she tried to touch the necklace, but Brittany yelled at her, "Don't touch it. This is obviously me." He swallowed the rest of the words back before he could finish them. I know what she wants to say is that the necklace is hers. The comment mentioned that she had worn this necklace for 6 years in her previous life and loved it very much. Take it off before going to bed every night, wipe it carefully and put it in the box. The past life is different from this life. Now that she has the company of her beloved childhood sweetheart, she must have lost interest in these mundane things. Gavin rolled his eyes at me with a sullen face. Is it so great to be rich? You stink of money and a necklace without any intention. How can it compare to one I knit with my own hands? Brittany, am I right? Brittany finally came back to her senses and managed a hard smile. Gavin is right. She regained her spirits and was just about to pick up some food for her beloved childhood sweetheart when her cell phone suddenly rang. The reception of the copycat phone is not very good. Not far away, I clearly heard a cold female voice coming from the phone. Hello Brittany, your mother's medical bills in the hospital are due. Brittany's expression suddenly changed. The barrage instantly became anxious. I almost forgot that the heroine's mother is seriously ill and hospitalized, waiting for money to save her life. I remember that in my previous life, the male supporting role directly threw 1 million into the hospital, and the operation went very smoothly. Oh my God, no way. The hero and heroine just met and had a little bit of sweetness. The male supporting role will not use the heroine's mother's illness to threaten the heroine to be with him again. Why does the male supporting role always haunt us? Oh no, the male supporting role is looking in the direction of the female lead. He must have thought he found an opportunity to strike up a conversation with her. I remembered that before I took out the black card, I heard from several classmates that Brittany's mother had cancer for several years, and all the family savings were drained and they were heavily in debt. I quickly looked back at Linda. Is there anyone sick in your family? No, no. Brittany stood up with a green face and was about to go to the hospital, but was stopped by the waiter. Ma'am, you haven't paid yet. There was laughter all around. In her previous life, she had the support of our David family. No matter which high-end restaurant she went to eat, the owner would smile and flatteringly invite her in, saying that there was no rush to pay the bill and that she could just settle it all at once after visiting many times. The time since her rebirth was too short, and she obviously hasn't changed her lifestyle habits yet. The waiter has already issued the receipt for 1,280 yuan. This amount of money is not even enough for half a bottle of red wine that the heroine drank in her previous life. Brittany took it for granted and reached for her black card, but when she found nothing, a layer of cold sweat suddenly broke out on her forehead. Yes, she was 18 years old again, young, immature, and poor. Now she is penniless. Not to mention 1,280 yuan, she didn't even have the 80 yuan. The waiter had his signature smile on his face. Brittany gritted her teeth and said to Gavin awkwardly, Gavin, you pay for this meal first, and I will transfer the money to you later. Gavin became alert. Brittany, my monthly living expenses are only 1,500 yuan, and this meal costs 1,200 yuan. What am I going to do for the rest of my life? Don't worry, I have a way to make money. How can you make money? Besides, we agreed that you would treat us, why are you asking me to pay? Gavin grumbled, unwilling to pay the bill. The young man and woman, who had just expressed their love for less than an hour, encountered the first setback in their love. I took out my card at the right time and called out, waiter. Brittany turned her face away in disgust, as if I would pester her any second. After being reborn, she didn't want to have anything to do with a spoiled young master like me. I can still vividly remember the humiliation I inflicted on her in my previous life by throwing money at her. There was deep disgust in her tone. David, how many times have I told you to stay away from me? I hate your persistence, and I hate you getting between me and Gavin even more. Neither I nor my mother needs your filthy money. I am amazed at Brittany's shamelessness. Even if what the barrage said was true, I was deeply in love with her in my previous life, but we have never been together in this life. The barrage appeared at the right time. When I heard that Brittany had no money to pay tuition, I just took out my black card and never said a word to ask her to be my girlfriend. She took the initiative to declare her love to her childhood sweetheart. Before this, we had never even met each other. She was the one who hated her previous life, but she was also the one who was addicted to her previous life. I sneered. I just asked the waiter to pay the bill. Brittany, are you suffering from some kind of hysteria that makes you think I'm pestering you? Brittany blanched. Only then did she realize that in this life, we are now strangers. The entanglement of 6 years in the previous life has not yet happened. Realizing this, she stumbled back a step. The barrage became anxious. What's going on? Why doesn't the male supporting actor pay for Brittany's mother's medical treatment? That's right, Brittany's mother has cancer, the male supporting actor doesn't get paid, so where is the female lead going to get that astronomical sum? Brittany's mother was the only person who comforted the heroine during her 6 years of miserable life. As I watched the comments scroll by, my face darkened. They called the 6 years that I spent money on Brittany a frustrating life, a humiliating experience that Brittany could not bear to look back on. In my previous life, after I used money to help Brittany's mother, what I got was her private calculations with Brittany. Brittany, men are unreliable. Listen to me, when you join David's family, you must keep all the money in your own hands. Don't let David have any spare money. My daughter is so beautiful, and she's been admitted to a good university. There are a lot of guys chasing after you. If the David family doesn't pay a gift of $8.88 million, we can't agree to marry him. Brittany nodded in disgrace. Unfortunately, the huge wealth of the David family is not something that an outsider like her can get her hands on. All she could get was a little bit that slipped through my fingers. If she is obedient, I will miss 1 point. If you don't listen, you won't get a single point. How could a young master like me be so stupid as to give away the family property? How could he really marry a little white girl from the slums? Brittany envied and longed for everything in David's family, but she could do nothing about it. Linda couldn't help but speak up. Brittany, it's you who has been pestering David, and he hasn't even paid any attention to you, but you've been acting like you're being humiliated. It's ridiculous. Brittany frowned and said sarcastically, Linda, you are a country bumpkin, how dare you talk to me in such a tone? Do you know my identity? Her voice was sharp, with a hint of nobility that came from money. After her company was established in her previous life, countless people flattered her by calling her boss Brittany. After being called that so many times, she became complacent. But Brittany hasn't realized that the clothes she is wearing are so washed that they are even whiter than Linda's. I raised my eyebrows and clapped my hands. Classmate Brittany is right. Linda looked at me aggrievedly. I looked her clothes up and down. They were ordinary and cheap. Wouldn't she look like a country bumpkin when she wore them? I frowned and waved my hand, showing the carefree attitude of a young master. I wouldn't wear such tattered clothes even if you gave them to me. Linda, you must come with me to the mall right now. You must not leave the mall until you buy clothes that cost at least 100,000 yuan. Linda walked out of the mall carrying several shopping bags, still in shock, and it took her a long time to recover. I lazily lit a cigarette. My girlfriend, of course, has to wear the best. Everything I gave to Brittany in my previous life, I will never give back a cent in this life. The comments are still discussing Brittany's current situation. She was extremely worried about money at the moment. Tuition fees, living expenses, money for her mother's medical treatment. If Gavin was her only regret in her previous life, then in this life, after she had smoothed out her only regret, 20 new regrets emerged. On the way back to school, I enjoyed the barrage with gusto. Heroine, don't look for a male partner. You will be entangled by him for many years. I would rather see you and the hero have a sweet love. The heroine is so pitiful. She is forced to return to the supporting actor. Who can stand the male supporting role's temper? Hey, is it possible that even after rebirth, there is no way to escape the control of the vicious male supporting role? Following the barrage of comments, I saw Brittany's lonely figure in front of the dormitory door. She seemed to have been waiting for me for a long time. When he saw me, he first smiled sadly, and then said as if he accepted his fate, David, I lost. I still can't escape your entanglement. How about this, as long as you give me the black card and promise to control your temper, I will agree to be your girlfriend. As she said these words, her shoulders trembled slightly, as if she had made a great decision, or as if she had made a huge concession. There was even humiliation and embarrassment on his face. Her dignity actually wants to be comparable to my unlimited black card. I laughed teasingly. I've never seen anyone asking for food so stubbornly. I couldn't help but remind her, Brittany, do we know each other? Brittany scoffed, David, no one knows you better than I do. Do you think I'll look at you more if you back off like this? Okay, give me the black card quickly, my mother is still in the hospital and needs it urgently. Her tone was very confident, as if she believed I would give in to her. In my previous life, I was with her for 6 years. If it wasn't for my love for her, I would not have been able to last that long. She has seen me being crazy about love, and she has also seen me being ostentatious in showing my love. As the favored one, she has always been fearless. Brittany's mother's unpaid hospital bills could no longer be delayed. The mess was waiting for her to fill with money. Linda decisively stood in front of me and broke Brittany's arrogance. When did David ever say that he wanted you to be his girlfriend? The last sentence was like a bolt from the blue, hitting Brittany on the spot. She stood there for a long time and suddenly remembered. The first thing she did after coming back to life was to confess her love to Gavin. As for me, I never said anything like asking her to be my girlfriend. The entanglements between me and him in the previous life have not happened yet in this life. But soon, Brittany shook her head in self-mockery. The entanglement of the past 6 years was so unforgettable. One thing after another, she would never believe that I had never loved her. He sighed, his tone full of suppressed fatigue. Okay, David, I admit that I confessed my feelings to Gavin and made you unhappy. But I really can't delay my mother's matter any longer. Just give me the card and I won't hold a grudge against the past. Seeing Brittany compromise in a desperate manner, the comments became anxious. The heroine finally got reborn. Why is she entangled with the male supporting role again? Next, 6 years of humiliating life began. But if there is no male supporting role, the heroine is now just a poor student. Even if she wants to start a business, she has no startup capital. How can she raise money? I looked at Brittany. This was both an answer to her and a response to the comments. If you don't have money, find a way yourself. Or you can go ask who is willing to spend money to find a girlfriend and apply for a job. Brittany seemed to have her self-esteem hurt by me and didn't show up for a month. I still remember that day before she left. She gnashed her teeth and said, David, you never change your temper. You are arrogant and rude. You never realize how disgusting such a temper is. As punishment, you need to calm down. Don't even think about seeing me again in the next month. The reward came too suddenly. I actually had a sense of unreality. We are in the same department but different classes. In such a big campus, it is extremely difficult to meet someone by chance. After Brittany disappeared, I started seeing Linda more. She stood quietly downstairs of the dormitory every day, waiting to go to class with me, and even volunteered to help me fetch water and buy food. My roommate Robert stopped us fiercely. Master, madam, you guys just take care of the romance. I will do this rough work for you. Robert has no parents and has been eating at many houses all the way to where he is today. After being admitted to university, I started my difficult journey to study alone with only a few $dozen in my pocket and a snakeskin bag on my back. On the first day of school, I asked him to fetch me water and buy food for me, 200 yuan each time. He excitedly called me his godfather for 3 days and took on all the work. I have forgotten about Brittany, but the barrage of comments occasionally reports on her current situation to show her presence. For example, she borrowed money from everywhere to fill the hole, but how much money do the students around her have? It's just a drop in the bucket and can't solve the problem. She was penniless and had to rely on Gavin for food. The lovers who once regretted not being able to be together are now encountering more and more difficulties in their relationship. In order to save money, Brittany, who had never worked in her previous life, actually went out to work part-time. Just when I thought I would never meet Brittany again, I ran into her when I was accompanying Linda to the school cafeteria for dinner. I usually only show up here on weekends. Brittany comes from Monday to Friday, and the part-time job provides meals on weekends. We are like two parallel lines that never intersect. But this weekend, the parallel lines miraculously intersected. Brittany, who was supposed to be off campus on the weekend, was sitting upright in the cafeteria. There was a slight change in her temperament. When she was just reborn, she had the nobility nurtured by money, and there was an inexplicable elegance in her every move. Now, her face was filled with fatigue and anxiety. She had lost weight and her brows were unnaturally furrowed. When Linda and I walked into the cafeteria holding hands, we saw Gavin carrying the food mysteriously and said excitedly, Brittany, I got the best meal in the cafeteria today, come and try it. After saying this, he placed the food in front of Brittany as if to take credit. It was a $7 pot dish that was greasy and tasteless. I could clearly see the disgust on her face. How can the heroine eat all this food? Yes, in my previous life, every meal was a delicacy from land and sea. How come I have to eat these things every day after my rebirth? And the heroine's clothes, each set only costs a few dozen dollars. What I wore in my previous life were all the latest luxury goods. But everything the heroine has was brought to her by the male supporting role. If there was no male supporting role, she would have lived this kind of life. This life is just a return to the real origin. After this sentence was uttered, no one responded. A commenter once said, in my previous life, after I fell in love with Brittany, I never ate in the school cafeteria. Every meal was a big meal out, or the butler would send fresh sashimi to school. As for clothes, I go to luxury stores once a week and carry a whole cart full of clothes each time. Brittany rarely wears the same outfit a second time. Like a proud little princess, she adapted to such a luxurious life very quickly. Day after day, she was extremely picky about food, clothing, and nourishment. Of course, it was hard to swallow the food when we suddenly returned to the greasy big pot meals. It's uncomfortable to wear cheap clothes. After hesitating for a long time, Brittany put down her chopsticks and stammered to Gavin in front of her, "Gavin, I want to ask you for a favor." "What's the matter?" Can you lend me 300,000? Gavin choked on a mouthful of tofu and instinctively raised his voice and yelled, "What did you say? You asked me to borrow 300,000? You eat my food and drink my drinks. You haven't even paid me back the 1,280 yuan you borrowed from me for food half a month ago, and now you're asking me for 300,000 yuan? Do you know that my parents can't even earn 100,000 yuan a year? How dare you ask me for so much money? I use my meal card to eat in the cafeteria every day, and I still complain that the food is bad and not as good as the fresh food shipped in by air. Your pockets are cleaner than your face right now. Did you eat the fresh food in your dream?" Brittany's face was red as fire, and she couldn't help but complain aloud, "It's because of you that I ended up like this today. Even before, every meal I took would not cost less than 1,000 yuan. The worst red wine I've ever drunk costs hundreds of thousands of dollars a bottle. Who doesn't address me as Boss Brittany?" Gavin seemed to have heard a joke. "Brittany, do you think this is the first day I met you? You are someone who can't even afford the tuition, but you dream all day long that you are a rich lady, eating and drinking the best food. You must be hysterical." There was laughter all around. This woke Brittany up from her extravagant life in her previous life. She has been reborn for a month and has chosen a path that is completely different from her previous life. What the hell? I came here to see the sweet campus romance between the male and female protagonists, but how come I end up watching them quarreling every day? Without money, there is no sweet love for you. Brittany looked up toward the door irritably and suddenly spotted me. In an instant, his back straightened, his frown relaxed, and a confident smile appeared on his face. There was a little more anticipation in the look he gave me. I walked past Brittany, admiring my new watch. This watch is worth more than 300,000 yuan, but the glossiness of the dial is a bit poor. I should choose a better one next time. Then he glanced lazily at the food in the cafeteria, frowned in disdain, and called Linda, "Let's go eat outside the school." Linda nodded quickly. I walked straight past Brittany and headed out of the cafeteria without looking around. The confidence on Brittany's face collapsed. After I walked away, she left Gavin behind and ran after me, shouting, "David, why don't you?" The rest of the words were suddenly choked back in my throat when I caught a glimpse of the Maybach outside the cafeteria. The luxury car was parked ostentatiously on the road leading to the cafeteria. Many classmates cast envious glances and whispered to each other. Some envy the luxury of luxury cars, while others complain that I am rich and willful. Brittany sighed in amusement. "So, you wanted to surprise me. But I don't like being so high profile. Don't do it next time." I remember that in her previous life, the heroine drove this car to find her childhood sweetheart, and then died in a car accident. Yes, in the previous life, this car was given to the heroine after graduation. Unexpectedly, in this life, the male supporting actor actually took it out in advance. Our heroine will always belong to the hero. How could she be shaken by a luxury car? Next, it's the highlight moment of face slapping. Brittany clearly loves this car. In her previous life, she had driven it on the streets of Haicheng countless times, attracting countless people's attention. She naturally opened the car door, and the butler in the driver's seat glared at her and scolded her. "This is the car our young master gave to Miss Linda. Why do so many people want to climb up the social ladder and sit in it?" Brittany's hand stopped as if she had been electrocuted, and she frowned. The elegant aura that had disappeared for half a month gathered again. "Uncle Wang, this car is obviously mine, don't you even remember this? There was anger in his voice. This car was hers in her previous life. But what about this life? I sneered, quickly opened the car door, got in with Linda, and then slammed it shut. Brittany quickly pulled her hand back, nearly breaking 4 fingers. Through the car window, I looked her up and down with disdain. Brittany, you should change your bad habit of coveting other people's things. I gave this car to my girlfriend. What does it have to do with you? In Brittany's eyes, I have always been an arrogant young master, so naturally I have to speak in a domineering and merciless manner. Brittany's feeling of joy was shattered. A frightened look swept over me. Shouldn't this car be given to me? I drove it for 2 years in my previous life. The voice was very low, but I heard it clearly. It's been so long since you were reborn, but you're still thinking about your past life? The past life that she hated became a flower in the mirror and a moon in the water in this life, and could never be found again. The comments were also dumbfounded. What's going on? The male supporting role doesn't seem to love the female lead at all? The heroine was reborn into loneliness. I originally wanted to see the sweet love between the hero and heroine, but wow, they had only confessed their feelings for half a month, and they had already quarreled 15 times. I want to see the heroine slap the male supporting role in the face, but who would have thought that I would always see the heroine being slapped in the face? You all say that David is pestering Brittany, but in my opinion, it is the heroine who is pestering the supporting actor. I turned my eyes away from the barrage. I am the eldest son of the David family. I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth. How could I possibly get entangled with an ordinary woman? Since Brittany feels that not being together with her childhood sweetheart in her previous life is a lifelong regret, her rebirth will allow her to completely make up for her regret. The car rushed out with a single step on the accelerator. From a distance, I saw Gavin pulling the heroine by the collar and arguing with her. Brittany, on the other hand, was still staring at the exhaust of the car in a daze, allowing the other party to curse and pull her. Looking away, I complained, Uncle Wong, driving into the school is too conspicuous. If this happens a few more times, the school leaders will talk to me. Uncle Wong nodded quickly, okay, I'll wait at the school gate next time. Master, after all, you don't have a girlfriend now. How about you consider tonight the marriage engagement with Linda's family that the master mentioned earlier? Sitting in the bar's private room, I stared blankly at Linda in front of me. On the way here, I impatiently refused, not wanting to marry a stranger. Uncle Wong was surprised and said, "You are not unfamiliar. You have been with Miss Linda for such a long time." While saying this, Linda huddled in the back seat of the car, shrinking herself into a quail. For people in our circle, marriage is a sure thing. It has nothing to do with love, it is just to tie the two businesses together and increase the ability to fight risks. In my mobile phone WeChat, there is still a WeChat message my father sent me, "My dear son, I feel relieved to see that you get along so well with Miss Linda. If it's suitable, we can get engaged first." At this moment, I feel like a real dandy young master. Linda's face turned pale, and she explained to me helplessly, "David, I just heard that you wanted to date a poor student, so I wore torn clothes. But I hadn't done anything yet. I just found you in the crowd and you suddenly stuffed a black card into my arms and asked me to be your girlfriend. I didn't expect happiness to come so suddenly." She said that she and I applied to the same university just to express the love that had been buried deep in her heart for many years. But I didn't expect that I was generous enough to support her first. The process is a little different, but as long as the result is right, it's fine. I said with a melancholy tone, "So, you are so rich, but you still want to cheat me of my black card?" She quickly explained, "No, I didn't touch the black card at all. When you gave it to me, you didn't tell me the password." Didn't I say the password? Have I always been spending the money of the eldest daughter of the Linda family? Am I the kept gigolo? He awkwardly stretched out 2 fingers to pinch the black card, and tried to squeeze both himself and the card into the crack of the sofa. He even considered giving up a little profit in the cooperation with Linda's family to save the lost face. The barrage of comments has exploded and is rolling in an impenetrable manner. How come after rebirth, the plot has changed so much? I remember there was an arranged marriage in my previous life, but didn't David use the excuse that he already had a girlfriend and rejected the arranged marriage on the spot? Doesn't the male supporting role like the female lead? Who is it that still can't be seen clearly? In this life, David has clearly never liked the heroine. A waiter pushed open the door of the private room carrying drinks, breaking the awkward atmosphere in the room. Their eyes met and the wine spilled all over the floor. The other party was shocked at first, and then became angry. "David, why are you two alone here?" Brittany appeared in front of the private room wearing a tight business suit. The part-time job she found, as mentioned in the barrage, was to serve drinks and water to customers in the bar. Brittany's face turned pale, her eyes flicked back and forth between the two of us, and she quickly stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. "Why were you alone with her?" I pushed him away and said, "This is my fiancée. If I don't want to be with her, why can't I be with you? David's family and Linda's family all know that we are already together. Everyone is happy to see it happen." Brittany was stunned by the word fiancé. The dim private room could not hide her pale face. After a long while, she finally released all her strength and gave a bitter smile. "David, I know you're with her to piss me off. If I had to do it all over again, I would still end up entangled with you." She turned her face away, and said with great difficulty, "You win. You really won. I promised to be your girlfriend." "Wait," I stopped him. "Did I ask you anything? You just shamelessly agreed to it." Brittany closed her eyes, as if she had made up her mind, and told him everything. "You know what? I was reborn. In my previous life, you took out your black card and asked me to be your girlfriend. You also gave my mother 1 million for her medical treatment. Even the Maybach was a gift to me. We've been together for 6 years. You have a bad temper, but I have been putting up with you. Although I always missed Gavin in my previous life, this rebirth made me realize my own heart. I still love you." Brittany may not have noticed that there was a sense of nostalgia in her tone that she was not aware of. The heroine's love affair is very rewarding. Can having a relationship bring so many benefits? "Young master, why don't you just look at me? Don't be so rigid about gender." In the end, after a hard-pressed life, the heroine began to miss the good times of the male supporting role in her previous life. Suddenly I realized that the male supporting role is so clear-headed. Although he was in love with the female lead in the previous life and helped her grow up, he would not easily enter into marriage and give away his property. In this life, the heroine confessed her love to someone else, and the male supporting role immediately gave up his love and never looked back. The last sentence made me suddenly realize. It turns out that in her previous life, Brittany was still brooding over the fact that I didn't marry her and gave away all of David's family assets. In her mind, I should be like a bootlicker, devoting all of David's family's wealth with both hands, and then be a good husband who is filial to her, and let her be the boss of the household. I'm just a playboy, not a moron. My wealth is something that no one of my equals would dare to covet, but Brittany takes it for granted. If you can't get it, you will hate it. I haven't even thought about my father's property yet, so why is it her turn to think about it? The atmosphere in the private room was a bit depressing. Linda stood up hesitantly and interjected, "I know that the standard configuration for the top position is a gambling father, a seriously ill mother, a brother who studies hard, and a broken girl. But I didn't expect that it has now turned into a metaphysical competition." She turned her head towards me and said aggrievedly, "David, I don't have such a miserable background. My parents are still alive and my brother is studying abroad. People are not reborn, and there is no metaphysical buff to bless them. Do you think I still have a chance to get promoted?" "There's a chance." I took her hand seriously and told her. Eventually, Brittany was dragged away by several security guards. Before leaving, he yelled, "David, the person you love the most is obviously me, you shouldn't look for someone else. We really were together in our past lives." After deciding on the marriage partner, the two families immediately held an engagement party for us. My father arranged for me to study abroad and study finance. Before we parted, he patted my shoulder and said reluctantly, "Son, since you are getting married, you can't just go to any university to mess around. You have to study finance. The David family's business will depend on you in the future." I tried to ask the lion, "Dad, can you give me some gold coins? Just set a small goal of 100 million yuan. Roll. Let me tell you. I haven't even thought about my father's property yet. Brittany wants to get involved?" The day I left, Robert cried bitterly, "Master, how can I live after you leave? I plan to serve you and the young mistress until you graduate from college, woo-woo. I paid your tuition and left you some living expenses. Don't go out in rags and embarrass me in the future. Master, I really can't bear to leave you, haha, I will definitely pay you back when I graduate." By the way, I will miss you every day, haha. Don't cry. The laughter was too harsh. On the day I boarded the plane with my luggage, the barrage of comments that had not stopped for a long time started to appear again. Brittany is looking for David like crazy. Are you looking for a male supporting role? That's looking for a cash cow. Look, she still remembers David's phone number from her previous life and wants to call him. I looked down at my phone. Since I am going abroad soon, it is time to change my old phone number. Brittany anxiously waited downstairs of the dormitory for many days. There are holes for money everywhere right now, and the medical bills to the hospital can no longer be delayed. After thinking for a long time, she came up with a solution. You can take the initiative to borrow money from David. It's only natural that David would take this opportunity to suggest that they start a relationship. After all, in his previous life, when he learned that she had no money to pay for tuition, David generously took out a black card and asked with a smile, "Brittany, I can help you with your tuition and living expenses, but you have to agree to be my girlfriend, okay?" Brittany dug her long nails into her palms. This time, if David made such a request again, she would agree without hesitation. But after waiting for a few days, there was no sign of David. Until Robert, who was impatient, told her, "Don't wait any longer. David went abroad to study the day after he got engaged to Linda. He will never come back." Brittany's ears were ringing. Got engaged? Study abroad? In his previous life, he was not engaged, so going abroad was nonsense. They were together for 6 years, going through college and losing their youthfulness. She just confessed her love to her childhood sweetheart on the first day after her rebirth. How could such a big change happen in past and present life? Brittany trembled as she pulled out her phone and entered a number she knew by heart. The moment the phone was connected, a mechanical female voice came, interrupting my thoughts. "Sorry, the number you dialed is not in service." Brittany froze in her tracks. "David's number is unavailable?" He looked at the phone number again. "That's right, the number 6 years was imprinted in my mind from my previous life. It has become an empty number in this life." Brittany stood there for a long moment. It lasted so long that Gavin pushed her hard from behind. "Brittany, pay me back. You owe me that 1,280 yuan for the meal, and you still haven't paid me back yet." The childhood sweetheart in front of him was stingy and mean, not even a bit gentle like he was in his previous life. Brittany rubbed her brow wearily. If she still had joy for her childhood sweetheart when she was reborn, then after more than a month of being oppressed by the cruel reality, David was the only one left in her heart. Now, he only has a little over 1,000 yuan left, which he earned by working part-time in a bar. This amount of money is not even enough to pay for medical expenses. Brittany was about to ask for a few days' rest when a girl suddenly pointed at her nose and yelled, "How shameless! Return my boyfriend's money." Brittany's head started buzzing again. David said he had a fiancée. Now Gavin actually has another girlfriend. Everything in this world seems to have been accelerated, moving at an unbelievable speed. She glanced at the girl in front of her and miraculously discovered that this was the same girl in the wedding photo that Gavin shared in the group in his previous life. In this life, Gavin had to go out to work because he had no money and met this girl 4 years earlier. After many twists and turns, her rebirth allowed David and Gavin to meet their loved ones earlier. After frantically taking out the only money he had on him, Gavin snorted coldly and left with his girlfriend in his arms. The cell phone rang. Brittany took it out excitedly, and when she found out it was not David's number, she answered it dejectedly. An old female voice came. "Brittany, the hospital is asking Mom to pay the medical bills. You should think of a solution quickly." Irritation surged in her heart, tearing at her heart which was on the verge of breaking. "All the troubles since my rebirth are overwhelming." Brittany screamed into the phone in annoyance. "Can't you find a way to make money yourself? Other parents are raising their children, why do you always follow me around and ask for money? Look at David, his parents give him hundreds of thousands of dollars in pocket money every month, what about you?" From the phone, I could hear suppressed crying and endless chattering. "I am so miserable. I have raised such an unfilial daughter. Not only did you not come to the hospital for more than a month, but you also didn't pay a penny." Brittany decisively hung up the phone. Instead, I scanned a shared bicycle and kept comforting myself on the way. David still has her in his heart, so it is impossible for him to get engaged and go abroad without saying goodbye. He might be angry that he confessed to Gavin, so he hid himself. As long as I find him, give him a way out, and say a few soft words, I will repeat the path of the previous life in this life. They will still be together. As long as you become David's girlfriend, you will never worry about money again. Brittany knew the location of David's mansion by heart. In her previous life, she lived here for 2 years and knew every flower and tree here like the back of her hand. But in this life, the housekeeper stopped the man with a vigilant look on his face. This is a private residence, you can't enter casually. Brittany got anxious and mixed up her past and present lives. I'm David's girlfriend. I lived here for 2 years. Don't you remember me? The housekeeper looked him up and down and sneered, you didn't even ask for details before you climbed up the social ladder. Our eldest master just got engaged to Miss Linda, and now they are both studying abroad. Where did he get a girlfriend? Engaged. Going abroad. Brittany's blood ran cold. David actually left without saying goodbye? He doesn't love her anymore? The phone rang again suddenly, rushing left and right. It's an unfamiliar number. Brittany's eyes lit up. After answering the call with trembling hands, he slowly collapsed to the ground weakly. A cold female voice came from the phone, Brittany, your mother's medicine has been stopped. Please pay the overdue medical bills as soon as possible. The days of studying abroad go by quickly. Brittany is like an unimportant passerby in my life. Appear with great fanfare and disappear silently. But I know her very well over the years. The barrage of comments always reports her recent situation every now and then, making her presence felt in my colorful life. The childhood sweetheart she had been thinking about in her previous life broke up with her decisively. After many twists and turns, he unexpectedly met his lover from his previous life again, and they were in a passionate relationship. Her mother died soon after because she could not raise the medical expenses. Before she died, she was still cursing in the hospital for giving birth to an ungrateful daughter. Only Brittany is left. From a young lady who never had to do housework, she became a model worker who worked 3 jobs in her spare time. Even so, she was still short of money. The huge debt made her feel suffocated. In her 2nd year of college, Brittany dropped out. A long and tiring journey began. While working, he never forgot to inquire about my whereabouts. Unfortunately, we are thousands of miles apart. She couldn't save enough money to pay for such a long journey and living expenses in a foreign country by working. It was not until 4 years later when I completed my studies and on the first day back from studying abroad that I looked towards Haicheng, which I had not seen for a long time. Received a call from Robert, Master, the school is organizing a class reunion, do you want to come? Robert has shed his former dark, yellow, and shriveled appearance and has become steady and composed. He is now working in a domestic branch under my name. He walked up to me and hugged me exaggeratedly, saying excitedly, Master, I haven't seen you for several years. Do you know how much I miss you? Master, why are you frowning? Tell me what's bothering you, I'll share your worries. I rubbed my head and said, the company has business overseas, but right now we can't find the right person to stay there for a long time. Robert became excited and recommended himself, what a coincidence, I am the chosen foreign resident. Then I remembered that Robert was an orphan with no relatives to tie him down. From this perspective, he is truly a chosen foreign resident. After solving the biggest worry in my heart, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't have much contact with this group of classmates. The only person I am familiar with in the whole class is Robert. Just before the class reunion started, someone arrived late. He pushed the door open and walked in, covered in dust. Brittany is here. Brittany and I were just in the same department, not classmates. The sudden intrusion was somewhat surprising. Curious eyes focused on her. I almost didn't recognize her. Her age now is almost the same as when she died in a car accident in her previous life. I still remember that it was said in the barrage that she lived a wealthy life in her previous life and had never worked a day. Every gesture and movement is full of elegance and nobility. It is hard to associate him with the young man in front of him with tired eyes. The barrage that had disappeared for a long time began to roll. I almost didn't recognize the heroine. The one above, this is not the heroine, this is the supporting actress. No, she can't even be considered a supporting actress, she should be just a passerby. It can be seen that Brittany is really poor. It's been almost 6 years since I was reborn. I'm clumsy at work and have failed repeatedly in starting businesses. But I always say that I used to be Brittany's boss. How can I not be poor? Even so, I still pay attention to what I eat and drink, and I often complain that I used to eat delicacies from land and sea. I can't imagine how poor she is. Probably, I can only stay in a cramped duplex of more than 100 square meters, eat bland 4 dishes and 1 soup for every meal, and then stand on the terrace with a sad face, overlooking the splendid river view. Come to think of it, life was indeed miserable. Brittany obviously takes care of her appearance. But the wrinkles between her eyebrows revealed her frequent anxiety. The clothes were cheap, not as figure-enhancing as the luxury clothes from her previous life. Not to mention the bare neck and wrists, without any dazzling jewelry. She almost didn't dare to look up at me, but she still mustered up the courage to walk forward and whispered, "David, I heard that your class will have a reunion and you will be there, so I wanted to come and see you. Have you been doing well these years?" The people at the class reunion were all people I didn't know very well. I stood up, said goodbye to everyone politely, and walked past Brittany. She chased after him without giving up. It was raining heavily outside the hotel. I stood on the roadside with an umbrella. Brittany stood in the rain, soaking wet. She pursed her lips several times before opening her mouth. Knowing the answer, but still holding a glimmer of hope, he asked me tentatively, "David, do you still love me?" I turned my head and smiled distantly. "Brittany, you might as well think about it carefully. It seems like we have never known each other before, so how can we talk about love or not?" "As you wish. In this life, you did not take the original black card. And I have never had any intersection with you. We were strangers from beginning to end." After I gave a definite answer, a few comments appeared on the horizon. "It's just getting fainter and fainter, and it's a sign of disappearing completely." In fact, the young master has never been a love-minded person. Even in his previous life, he was not stupid enough to sacrifice any core interests. Can the young master imagine what kind of life Brittany is leading now? I think it's possible. It was a close call. Brittany almost married into a wealthy family. After her rebirth, Brittany finally lived the life she was supposed to live. The barrage disappeared completely. Brittany in front of him was visibly desperate. She covered her head, in agony. "I was wrong. The moment I was reborn, you had never said a word to me, but I severed the bond between you and me. David. In my previous life, I called you David for 6 years. How could it turn out like this? How could I lose the most important person in my life? David, you know what? I have always wanted to go abroad to find you, but I have worked very hard these years and I cannot save enough money for a round-trip ticket to fly abroad or to live abroad for half a year. In my previous life, this amount of money was just enough to buy a bottle of wine. How could it be? How could it be?" I couldn't tell whether the water running down her face was rain or tears. I know she works very hard. Her face showed the decadence and fine lines of a person who has been through so much. A car headlight flashed in this direction. A Maybach stopped next to me. The car door opened and Linda got out with an umbrella. "Still looks as bright and youthful as before." She glanced behind me and said in surprise, "David, isn't this the reborn broken sister? The higher-ranked version has been updated to the point where they perform a self-torture trick on a rainy day?" She drooped her brows and said, "David, I don't have a broken family or metaphysical blessings, but I can also improvise a piece on the spot about the self-torture trick. The black card that Brittany from her previous life couldn't wait to push open after she was reborn has brought about a wonderful bond between me and Linda in this life." I laughed and joked, "You don't need to resort to self-torture to get to the top." On the other hand, Brittany learned about David's marriage from the news. When she heard the news, Brittany was hunkered down in her cramped rented loft, scrolling through her phone out of boredom. There were takeaway boxes and beverage bottles piled up around him. These cheap junk foods that Brittany would never even look at in her previous life have become Brittany's 3 meals a day to sustain her life. David's smiling face suddenly appeared in front of me. He is still the flamboyant eldest son of the David family, and his every move reveals his nobility and relaxation. It's clearly written in the news. He is about to marry Miss Linda. The second project jointly developed by the two companies will also be launched on the market soon. Brittany stared at David's smiling face in a trance. It was at this time that Brittany truly realized that there was a huge gap between the two classes. The watch David bought casually was worth the money Brittany could not save even if she worked for 10 years. Brittany and he would hardly ever meet again on the streets of High City. The most desperate thing is that Brittany can only get news about him through the news. In the past few years since her rebirth, Brittany has thought about starting a business. Brittany found several bosses who had worked with her when she successfully started a business in her previous life, and they all decisively rejected me. Only one person, after hearing Brittany's solemn assurance that she could make money, pointed out the way to Brittany with a lecherous look. "Brittany, anyone who does this business can make money. So, what do you think is the right thing for you to do?" Brittany suddenly realized. The reason why Brittany was so successful in starting her own business in her previous life was not because Brittany was smart or a business genius, but because Brittany, had the support of the David family. It was David who paved the way for Brittany and made everyone be polite to Brittany. What did Brittany do? Brittany puts up spikes all the time, trying to cover up her inferiority complex. During those years when Brittany tolerated his spoiled temper, wasn't he also carefully protecting my self-esteem at every turn? Brittany took one last look at David's wedding news. A bold idea emerged. Brittany is going to stop his wedding. The thought made Brittany's blood boil. Maybe, he will suddenly remember me and fall in love with me? Perhaps, he and I can return to the love we had in our previous life? So Brittany drove fast down the street. This is a second-hand car that Brittany bought by saving a lot of money. More than 30,000 yuan. It emptied Brittany's savings of a year. It is far less comfortable than the Maybach of its predecessor. Brittany's heart suddenly jumped when the image of the Maybach flashed through her mind. Today's scene seems to overlap with the previous life. In her previous life, Brittany was standing on the terrace of David's family villa and learned from her classmates that Gavin was getting married. It's also crazy and impulsive like this. The Maybach sped along the road with the accelerator pressed to the bottom. At that time, Brittany had only one thought in her mind, which was to stop Gavin's wedding. Brittany glanced at the time subconsciously. March 18th. The day when Gavin got married in his previous life. It is also the day when David gets married in this life. Instantly, Brittany's blood ran cold. Bang! Due to the distraction for just a few seconds, the car deviated from its direction and hit the guardrail hard. Just before she lost consciousness, Brittany actually smiled with relief. If I could be reborn at the age of 18. The first thing Brittany did when she opened her eyes was to take the black card. When David asked me if I would be his girlfriend, I hugged him tightly and declared loudly, "David, I do." But when Brittany woke up again, what she saw was a snow-white ceiling. There is also a pungent smell of disinfectant. Brittany struggled to her feet. Without David, there would be no school. Brittany grabbed the white coat beside her and asked anxiously, "Doctor, have I been reborn? What day is today?" The doctor looked at Brittany with a complicated expression, then said to the nurse behind him, "Let's get her a CT scan. Her head hit the steering wheel, and there may be blood clots and brain confusion." Brittany's face was reflected on the sleek instrument. Still young, but weathered and tired. It's Brittany who has nothing. Brittany picked up the broken phone next to her in disappointment. David's wedding was reposted all over the internet. Everyone sighed that this luxurious wedding of the century revealed a sense of wealth in every detail. What is even more touching is that there is true love in marriages between wealthy families. During the years that David was studying abroad, his fiancée, who lived in a different country from him, flew to Europe twice a month without fail. They have accumulated a thick stack of plane tickets, which serve as a testimony to their love. Finally, Brittany put down her phone dejectedly. David is married. Brittany was the only one left there, confused and at a loss. On the day of discharge, Brittany unexpectedly met David in the hospital. He was wearing a low-key luxury suit, holding Linda's hand, carefully protecting her slightly bulging belly. He shined so handsomely in the crowd. Brittany desperately chased after him on crutches and shouted after him, "David." He looked back. I was so excited that I hardly dared blink, for fear of missing any expression on his face. His eyes stayed on me for a moment, he thought about it doubtfully, and then turned his head away. He didn't recognize Brittany. Those were the 6 years we were in love, and those were the 6 years Brittany was obsessed with money and entering the high society. Now, Brittany is the only one who remembers it.